Welcome. I'm Janelle Kolaski, a career mindset coach and actor.
And I'm Amanda Dubois, a self-authenticity and prosperity life coach and actor as well. And we're your co-host of Mindset Artistry YouTube channel,
where we teach you the art of discovering and using your mindset
to build a career and life you desire. Welcome back to an amazing episode of Mindset Artistry with an incredible guest, Angela Mickey. A round of applause. All of that, so exciting. And if you don't know Angela Mickey, you should. And here's why. So Angela Mickey is the managing director of casting at Liz Lewis Casting Partners and has been casting for 23 years. That's incredible. And Angela has worked across the board on commercials, voiceovers, animation, film, TV, documentary style, real people, and theater projects. Angela enjoys working with veterans and up-and-coming creatives, helping provide an incredible plan to each casting process, as well as assist with the union regulations, which is very important right now, and talent payment guidelines. Angela has worked on hundreds of on-camera commercial and voiceover projects, as well as helped form Real People division. So welcome, Angela.
Thank you.
So excited because, and I was telling this to Janelle right before we got on, that your office, Liz Lewis office, and specifically you, has been such a big advocate for my career from the beginning, especially in the commercial world, because that's where I started. And I looked back and I was like, that's right. My first non-union official commercial booking was with you, and it was Good Morning America, and it was the promo spot. And I remember because I went back, it was in 2015, like a year,
wow.
July 1st, like 2015. And I looked back and I was like, oh my gosh, I booked it by submitting on Actors Access. And I remember meeting you throughout the beginning of my career and saying, like, listen, if something fits, apply, reach out, let me know what you're doing. And I did, and I booked it. And it was such a great feeling because I got to tell my manager at the time, or agent at the time, I booked something, because I was so proactive with meeting casting directors. And like, I wasn't going to sit at home and wait for an email or a booking. And so I had booked that, and it was like such a propelling moment in my life and of moving forward to keep going and knowing, hey, I got the jobs, I can do it. They like me, darling, they like me. And so I just wanted to say thank you for doing that. Whether you remember or not, doesn't matter, but I do, because everyone was like, I did the whole heart thing in the Good Morning America. It's like, I love you, I love it. Yeah, that's what it was. And it was the moment. It was the moment.
Love that.
So thank you. So let's just jump in since I've been talking about myself, sorry. What brought your interest into becoming a casting director?
So it's actually, I don't know if it's interesting. I mean, I think it's kind of norm for a lot of casting directors. I started as an actor with a concentration in musical theater, actually, and kind of got through my training. I finished at 22 and realized, oh, I'm a mezzo. So I sound like I'm 35 and I look like I'm 16. I am not hireable for a bit. That's great. And I tried the whole waiting tables and auditioning things. And I kind of just felt like I had a lot of tools in my toolbox, but I didn't know what to do with them. I was a terrible auditioner. I would get really nervous. I just didn't know how to be confident in the room. Like, I was fine when I got the role. If I was working, if you're working in conservatory, you're auditioning and working with the same group of people. I'd be like, I'd be great for a repertory company, but that was about it. And I started to get worried that I was going to get sucked into the restaurant industry. I was a really good waitress. And I had a friend who was working with Liz, and they were an assistant, and at the time Liz had her own casting studios, and they needed a receptionist. And so I was like, you know what, let me go in and see what a working actor does. Let me see the day-to-day, see if I can demystify this for myself, with the intention of returning to acting. And then as I started to learn about casting, I started to be much more interested in that than performing. And I really like the idea of kind of putting together the whole piece. The program that I went through at NYU, you had to it was the Playwrights Horizon, so you had to do you had to do dramaturgy work, you had to do work as an assistant director or a stage manager. And I was very good at ADing and stage managing, where I had to take what the director's vision was and kind of help them figure out how to execute it. And that's very much what casting is. So as I started doing casting more, that was kind of where my interest began to lie.
Well, that's incredible. And I know when I first met you, it was mostly commercials, and now Liz has expanded, I mean, across the world and the board doing, again, animation, voiceover. What has been the most enjoyable aspect of now going across the board with casting from, commercials to TV to animations and theater?
I think that's that I don't ever get bored. I think it can be very easy as a casting director if you're very siloed to kind of just get into this route, and that's why, one of my big things as a casting director when I'm talking to producers is that I really want to look at your project and start fresh. Like, what is going to work for your project instead of some cookie cutter approach? We call the same 7 agents, and this is what it is. Doing animation and doing commercials and doing real people casting are all completely different worlds, and film is completely different. So I think it just kind of keeps you on your toes. They all have different timelines. They all have different, senses of urgency. And I also like working with actors in different aspects of that. Like, I've worked with tons of actors who were really successful in commercials, but they could not get legit representation to save their life. And, bringing them in for things. And then now they don't do commercials anymore. They do film and TV, and vice versa. Film and TV actors who are like, I have no idea how commercials work. And I'd be like, but you'd be great for this. Trust me. Just trust me on this. Come in for it. And that's really fun to kind of show actors that there is a chance for them to kind of grow and expand their opportunities. I think that was something that really became apparent at the beginning of the pandemic. I was so kind of in awe of the acting community and how so many people had to reinvent themselves. I mean, with the idea that obviously they were going to come back, but particularly people in theater who didn't have film and TV experience, who were like, okay, got to figure it out now, and some of them were on Broadway shows that closed, and that was it, and so they had to all of a sudden figure out, okay, let me take a film and TV class, let me take a commercial class, let me take an improv class, let me start exercising muscles I haven't exercised in a while. And I was so in awe of the acting community for what they did during that time.
Yeah, it was fascinating to watch all my friends evolve. And I know quite a lot of people in the Broadway community now. And even my partner was in a Broadway show, and his show closed. But then he actually left and became a carpenter and is building these beautiful things. And he's like, I get to create my own. I don't have to be in somebody else's creation. And I'm like, go you. So it's amazing. Earlier you mentioned that you're like, I was terrible at auditioning and the nerves and everything. And Amanda and I are trying to bridge this gap because we know casting directors are on our side, and like we know this, and then we're really prepared. We do live film TV. I've done a lot of commercials, and it's all fun. But then you go in and you're like, oh my God. It always happens no matter how prepared you are. So what advice do you have for us actors that are like just trying to get rid of the nerves and just like let the audition flow?
Well, I'm a big believer in reframing. I think that we could kind of get into our own heads a lot. And, the ethos may have changed, but when I was kind of going through training, there was very much a status differential that was reinforced. That actors are down here, casting and directors are up here. You're begging them for work. You're begging someone to represent you. And I just don't think it's a helpful dialogue at all, and nor do I think it's accurate. We are peers in the process. I'm only as good as the actors that I bring in, and I want you to book it. And if you don't, then I'll get to you on the next one. And if you do, great, our needs met. So I think part of it is just realizing, kind of empowering yourself to recognize that you belong in the room. We get so many, as casting directors, we get so many submissions. So if you are one of the people who are being invited to audition, that's such a vote of confidence in your favor right there. That should be something that's empowering when you walk in the room, not something that's that makes you more nervous. You've already beaten out so many people, especially in film and TV, that it's even more so. And I think anything you can do to slow down the process. I think this happened much more when we were in person, but where you would be out in the waiting room and you'd see how many people were waiting, and we bring actors in and they would try to rush through, like they were aware that how many people were waiting. And the director or production team would be like, hey, how you doing? And the actor would be like, hi, and they'd run to their spot. And I'm like, slow down, say hello back. Like, it's not us being behind or not is not your problem. For the 10 minutes you're in here, the room belongs to you to show you what you want to do. Just slow it down. Don't worry about that. And just, look at it as having fun. I always say, look at it as like your 10-minute play date with the director, with the casting director, to see how many different ways you can do it, instead of putting so much pressure on yourself that this is make or break, find the fun in it, the joy in it again. And then lastly, and this is like kind of a more of a mind trick thing, but I always recommend book something for yourself for after that audition that you really enjoy, whether it's meeting a friend for coffee or getting a manicure or massage or whatever you want. So the most important thing in your day is not that audition. It's just a very different energy when you walk in the room. Like I'm here, I'm prepared, I've been thinking about this all day, and I'm here, I'm prepared to work, but I have somewhere to be. It's a completely different energy for you too, and I think, so oftentimes you'll hear stories about people who had really had not booked, had been at their wits' end. And it was basically when they said, "Got this, I don't even care anymore. Yeah, I'm going on the audition that my agent sent me, but I don't even think I'm going to book it." And that's when they book it, because it's like they don't put the weight of the world on it.
I love that. And especially because we have Mindset Artistry. This is Mindset. And we, again, Janelle and I have been in the industry for a while and we love it. Of course, this is, I think they call us a little insane because we're in an industry that has endings that is full of rejection. And to have a well-rounded mindset around this industry and understanding in all aspects of the industry is so important. What would you say, outside of being like really happy and setting something after the audition, what is something that an actor could do if they still do get those, anxiety and hiccups, and something to strengthen their mindset as they're meeting you and going through the process, even, from getting the audition to the callback to it, and depending if it's film and TV, network and all those things, like what is something really important to keep in mind?
I mean, I think that it's not just one thing, your audition is not that one chance. There's sometimes I'm seeing people and I'm working on so many other things. So there's other opportunities. Same thing with our directors. They're working on other projects aside from the one that they're doing right now. So just the ability to get in front of someone is a great opportunity. I also think, look for your allies. I mean, that's why I'm a big proponent for actors networking and forming relationships with casting directors outside, independent of their agents. It's very much, there's three relationships. There's my relationship with your agent, there's my relationship with you, and then there's our relationship, the three of us together. But when you walk in the room, you're like, I know her, she's my friend, she's my ally. That can help calm you and center you as well. I think empower yourself. You are an artist and you're a professional, so ask for what you need. If someone gives you direction and you need a second to digest it, so say, can I have a second, please? Instead of feeling like you're rushing in before you can really understand what you're being asked to do, ask for that second. We don't want to belabor your time either, so make sure to communicate what you need. And I think, again, that's all empowering. It makes you feel like you are an equal in the room. I think being also coming into the room with your choices. I know it gets scary, but I think that empowers you as an actor, because you're coming in as an artist and you're meeting us 50, halfway, instead of coming in and being like, just tell me what to do. Well, I didn't do what they told me to do well enough. No, come in, what are your ideas? That's what we want to see. Especially in film and TV and theater, in theatrical casting, we don't know what we want. We want to see what your ideas are as to who this person is and what the scene means. And not being afraid to do that. I know, don't be afraid. That's a hard, inactive thing, but I think, I do think it's important to empower yourself to do that. I think that's one of the biggest things that I see is, especially when someone has come out of a intense training, oddly enough, is I feel like their creativity has sometimes gotten stamped down. And they just kind of, oh, who is this? Who do you want me? What do you want me to do? Oh, what do you want to do? You know what I mean? And that's why I'm asking you to come in, because I think you're interesting and you're creative, and I think that empowers you when you're in the room. You know what I mean? Instead of, again, status, instead of feeling like you're down here, you're meeting me and at the same level.
I love that. And as you're speaking, it really makes me think of the moments where that I did feel empowered. And yes, it does make all the difference. I mean, duh, when you're really like, oh, when I booked this, what was I doing? Like, I don't know. I remember I had a commercial audition, I think for Carolyn Sinclair. She's so sweet.
She's adorable. I love her.
She's so adorable. And I had booked something for the Travel Channel and I was so excited. I was like, I had to catch a plane and I was in a hurry and she brought me in and I was like, oh, thank you so much. And then I didn't even have time to be like scared or worried. I was just like in it and like, let me have fun with this. I had to be like curled up on a chair, like in a bathtub. Actually, it was like really awkward and I ended up booking it. But I think it's because I was like, here's my choice. And I was just, you know, so yeah, we appreciate that. And we keep hearing that from so many casting directors, and we're trying to encourage our friends. And our teacher, Anthony Abeson, that we study with, he's always like, have fun, make your choices, trust us. You're interesting. You have all the different backgrounds, even if you have brown hair like the next girl, and something I was thinking about, because sometimes as an actor, I'll get a commercial script or it might be film or TV. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? And it can be really fun, but you're like, I'm really going to have to like pull some fun things out of the box for this one. Have you had projects like that you're really like, I don't know how I'm going to make this work?
More logistically, I mean, normally we have a conversation with the director, so we have some kind of, launching ground as to how we're going to approach it. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of different ways to approach things. I think that it's just remembering why you got into this to begin with. You didn't come in this to be a robot to be programmed. You came in this because you like to play make-believe, right? And you had your, you would do it on your own and you're creative and as a kid. So it's keeping in touch with that, the fun of it. The minute you stop enjoying the process of it is when I think it gets in your way, and it's too hard of work, so if you're in that point, take a break, that's okay too. Everyone deserves them. Take a break, find your inspiration again so that you are enjoying it, because you do have to put yourself on the line a lot and you get a lot of projection. But I do recommend also people realizing, like, I'd much rather you come in the room and make the wrong choice than make no choice at all. Because if you make the wrong choice, at least I know it's a choice. And I can be like, I know what you're going for. It didn't quite work. But so let's try this, because I know you're creative and talented. But if you don't make any choice at all, I don't have that to work with. You know what I mean? So I do come in, try, and if you fail, who cares? And we try something different, I've totally been someone who will call someone and be like, hey, I need you to take this again. Try doing this, and this differently, just so that people can have that second chance, because I know that they've put thought into it and have made choices. It's such an important thing.
Actually, speaking of, contacting actors and saying, hey, I know what you were going for. Can you do it again? I know with the new world post-pandemic, we've all kind of gotten cooped in the household and doing self-tapes. And I'm curious on, and I've heard many different things about like deadlines, and some actors are so like, I'm going to submit this audition. I just got it. I have 2:00. It is not due to 2 days later, but I'm going to submit it by 6. And it's like, does that make a difference in, submitting before the deadline, like right after? Or is it okay that, I submitted maybe an hour before? Like, is there a difference, and does it matter?
It doesn't matter. It's what you need for yourself. I mean, so my office, when we have to do self-tapes, and I personally hate self-tapes. I'd much rather do directed auditions virtually. We're still virtual, but I would much rather do them where I can have a dialogue with the actor. But when we do have to do self-tapes, a lot of times what we'll do is office hours. So we'll send up the self-tapes basically a day or two later. It's basically an open Zoom. And I say, hey, jump on if you have any questions. I take you one at a time. And so we can still have the creative conversation. It's just in lieu of a scheduled audition, we have the conversation, then you go off on your own time into it. Now, I will say getting them in earlier than the deadline does allow me the time to review. And if I do have notes, I can get back in contact with you. But know that we also, usually those deadlines are made with a cushion, right? Because we need time to review. So I might be saying I need tapes due at noon on Tuesday, but I'm not sending it to the director until Thursday. I'm allowing myself time to review in that process. So also don't be afraid, if you need more time, to reach out to casting. Again, it's about having a dialogue and not being afraid to initiate that dialogue. If you have 3 other self-tapes that are due and you need more time, reach out and say, hey, I'm not gonna be able to make noon on Tuesday. Can I get it in by noon on Wednesday? And what's the worst they're gonna say? No, we can't. More than likely, we're gonna say, like, yeah, that's fine. I can have watch one more tape a day later. That's totally okay. So why not ask for that? It's again, we're here, we're not looking to put hurdles up in your process. We're trying to be helpful. So anything we can do to make it work for you, we're gonna do. I will say that being careful, the one thing I would say about being careful about submitting right at the deadline is that a lot of times everyone is doing so. It's really more of a technical thing that you have a bunch of people trying to submit to EcoCast all at the same time or to casting networks all at the same time, and it starts to slow down. Casting networks doesn't cut you off, but EcoCast does. So, that's really what your danger is, more of a thing.
I love that. I love that you're reminding anybody who's listening, especially in the industry, that you are like the CEO of your own business. And, all the casting directors and everybody that you meet are your colleagues to some extent and in some way. And we're all rooting for each other. And whatever is your role or your job, it will happen. So thank you for kind of breaking that down and reiterating that, because we say that a lot. And I think sometimes people are like, yeah, okay, sure, Amanda, sure, Janelle. But I'm like, hearing it from, casting directors is such a privilege and an amazing honor to be able to share that and confirm as well. So, Janelle, you have a question?
Oh, yes. So speaking of being a CEO, we're talking about forming relationships with people. And for me, it's actually been particularly hard because if I'm just out in the world meeting you and, we're physically there and I'm like, hey, how are you? I can talk to anybody and I love meeting people. But then just like the way I was raised, there was just certain, like, you don't call people before a certain time or after a certain time. And you don't want to be rude and you don't want to infringe on boundaries. So there's always been this weird, so for everybody watching and listening, probably even myself, it's like, the right way to reach out, but being like respectful, but also like, I'm here, I ready to like do the job. So that's always something that's a mystery for actors, I think.
I mean, but you have to self-promote, that's especially if you don't have an agent, but even if you do, and this is what we do. I think that this is what actors don't understand. Casting does the same thing. This is how we get our projects. We contact producers and directors and say, saw the project you worked on, looked really great. This is what I've been working on. Would love to work with you in the future. It's the same process. So I'm not going to hold it against you, what I do to get work, you know what I mean? Is there I wouldn't call just because a lot of us are working from home and our poor cell phones and half the time we can't take it. But it's totally fine to send an email with an update. I suggest it. We meet so many people. We need to be reminded, and there's no way for us to know what you're doing unless you tell us. I also think, if social media is your jam, see if the casting directors that you want to work with have a social media presence. I think in some ways casting is so much more accessible than it ever was prior to the pandemic, because of that. And a lot of people are posting things online, you get to see kind of what people are into. They may have the same hobbies as you. I've connected with actors about random hobbies long before I've even gotten into working with them as an actor, just because we've connected in that way. And for me as a casting director, I'm so interested in actors who are well-rounded, meaning not just that they do all kinds of different kinds of performance, but also well-rounded as people. What makes you, whether it's you love to cook or you love to hike or whatever, the things that you're really obsessed with. That is so intriguing to me as a person. And that makes me think that you're that much more interesting and have so many more things to draw on as a performer. So that is a way we can connect. That's not aside from like, this is my audition and this is what I've been working on and here's my resume and things like that. It gets to, it's a lot more personal than the industry, I think, that people think.
I love that. I'm curious then, because I know earlier on in the industry as well, I kind of got a bit jaded with like having a real life. And I know you speak to that all the time to actors and like finding the joy and everything, because we can get very blinders on and just I gotta do this, I gotta have my materials, I gotta be practicing every day, I gotta work on my scenes, I gotta do all the things and be real in the room and all the things, right? And forgetting to have fun, forgetting to live a life. but also incorporating other interests. So I'm curious on how do you feel about actors? Because I didn't think that I would even be in this position of having a podcast and working with you as a, as a guest on our podcast. How do you feel if actors, you said, take a break and they find a new interest such as this, and they reach out and go, hey, I haven't been in the industry for a couple of years. This is what I've been working on. What can I do to, what do you have coming up, and can I submit? And how do you feel about that? And does it matter if they go, oh, and I was in the corporate world for a really long time and I decided to come back? And does that affect, the way you look at actors, or does it matter? Or is it a bonus as an actor to be like,
It can be, I think it depends. I mean, everybody's different in what works for them. I think that it can be a bonus. Sometimes life experience is what you need. It's like I always tell actors, like, I know you're sick of taking classes, but you can take classes for the rest of your life because this is your instrument, right? And so what worked for you at 22 isn't going to work for you at 35. You're a different person at 35. So whatever you draw on to make your inner emotional life work for you as a young person in their 20s is not the same in their 30s, and certainly not in your 40s, as I know now. So, I think that, life experience is different. I mean, I think you need to have outside interests just for your mental health in this industry. And now, no matter what part of this industry you're in, whether you're an actor, an agent, or your casting director, you need people in your life that are not in this. So that way, not every conversation is about what's happening in the industry. You need things that you enjoy that aren't just about, like, I'm watching film and I'm watching plays, and you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be things that help grow you, but also just people watching. Like, if your thing is to sit at a cafe and just watch the people who go by, and people are weird. I don't, that's why I love people. Like, I'm a huge people watcher. I love watching them because people are weird, eccentric people when they don't think anybody's watching them. And I think that can be completely helpful. There's tons of people who have left the business because they had kids and they had to wait until the kids were going to school and able to kind of be on their own for a little bit before they could pursue this. That's totally fine. I do recommend if someone is re-entering the industry, you may want to take a brush up class on something just to see if the aesthetics have changed in any ways. But aside from that, yeah, I mean, people come in and out of the business in so many different ways.
I love that. And, say you're coming back, or you took a break, or even just with the world now, I'm curious on the view of like reels, because I know I think reels have kind of changed and people are getting extra creative. Is it 15 seconds? Should it be 30? Is it less than a minute? What is your best advice in the current state of the industry on like reels? And, should we have a comedy reel and then a drama reel and then a thriller? Or should we just kind of get the best scenes of all the projects that we worked on and just make one combined, reel and sending that over? Or are scenes better? Like, maybe I film a scene with Janelle in a really professional area and we film it and then I submit that instead. But what is your advice on just that overall real world and, submitting and honestly marketing yourself to casting?
Yeah, I mean, every casting director has a different opinion. So in some ways you have to do what works best for you and what you have the technical capabilities of. I'm really indifferent. Like, I'm fine with clips. I'm fine with a reel. The only thing I don't like is the music video montage thing, where it's like clips of a scene with an overlaying song and it looks really cool, but I can't tell what you did. You know what I mean?
You don't want to see me dancing with some music?
I'm just like, I'm like, this is like an interesting trailer, but it doesn't give me anything to grab onto. But, there's people who have sent me, audition scenes that they've done for other projects because they don't have a reel. That's fine too. Just present it honestly, Also, if you are using audition scenes, make sure you didn't sign any NDAs when you did that audition, because then you maybe not want to send that out. That's happened to me once, where someone submitted something from material for me from a project I had them audition for previously, and it was still NDA'd, and I was like, you can't use this. But aside from that, that's fine. If you do decide to do it as one big reel and you're submitting something for something, and hey, well, I'm a big fan of the note function under Actors Access. I think that's a great way to kind of get casting's attention. We open this page up, you see hundreds of photos and it's like a little speed bump. And it's like, oh, what did this person write to me? Well, hey, the scene at, a minute 37 is a comedy scene that's kind of in the vein of this project. So if you don't have it clipped up by different genres, you can do it one reel, but then use the note function to kind of clue me in on maybe what I should be looking for. That's a great way to do it. But I'm really about, my big thing is that actors are not producers. So whatever is going to be easiest for you, that is what I want. I think that's like the biggest thing. I see so much of the dialogue going back to self tapes and all that. And there's so much concern about the technical stuff. Do I have a blue background? Do I have the ring lights? Do I have all this stuff? I need to see you and I need to hear you. That's it. It does not need to be perfect. I've had people tape it from their couch. I've had someone do a callback from their car. It's and because they were in college and like this is when I could do and this is where I have to do it. And meanwhile, the entire time the poor guy's phone is falling down he had it propped up on the window on the side of the car. He had a booking. So, like, even though the actors are like, I think it was early stages pandemic, it was something to latch onto that you could control. So it's like, okay, I can control this. But then all the creative stuff became second on the importance scale. And it's like, no, that's the most important stuff. Don't worry about the technical stuff. Like, you are not going to book or not book a job because of your ring light.
Thank goodness, because mine falling apart. Dropped it one way too. I try to store it in the closet. Oh goodness. Well, speaking of fun things that we all do, I want to know about the creatures behind you. Those little
my big let me see if I can grab them. My big pandemic activity was crocheting. So this was the first one I did. It's very easy, very beginner. Penguin.
No, that's not easy.
I don't know. I'd make it too tight.
My second one is the cat with his little fish apron. My third was the lion. Oops. There you go. And then I got more advanced. So I have my little bear with his movable arms. And then I have my fox with his little backpack. And then I did a panda and I did a parrot that are like big, and those are like super advanced that I did for my mother. She's been a little ill, so I created them for her while she was in the hospital. So that's my big thing.
I love. And did you just like what you're just like, I've always wanted to learn how to do this and I'm doing it.
Yeah, I'm not crafty at all. I'm not a crafty person. I'm not a fine art person at all. Like, don't ask me to paint or draw you a picture; it would be terrible. But I want to do something with my hands, and everyone has said like it's very meditative, and it is. It's actually, because you're doing a pattern, and it almost makes you kind of zone out. And I loved it because of that. So I found that there's like I don't want to push somebody else's company, but it's called Woobles, and it's all for like beginner crocheters. And you can go and they send you all the yarn, all the materials, and the pattern. And she has little videos. And so that was like the first one, and moved up to advanced. And then once I figured that out, I can move to other patterns that she didn't do and figure out how to buy my own yarn and do all of that. And now I'm obsessed. And yarn is very expensive. It's not a cheap hobby at all.
I don't think I ever have cheap hobbies. I think I've dragged Amanda along. We've gone surfing together. She broke a nail. There's this gorgeous queen, always looks amazing, and she had nails. And we get out there, and the whole time she's like, "I'm just afraid of sharks, afraid of sharks." And then she takes the board out, and we do it, and she breaks a nail, bleeding. And I'm like, "You're bringing them to us."
Oh, jeez. I've always wanted to surf. That was way beyond my physical ability.
I'm not good at it at all. No, definitely not putting that on special skills.
I love it, but I still, as much as I could do it, I'm terrified of sharks. But I love sharks. It's just a thing that I think I've watched way too much Shark Week, and I know a little bit too much about sharks that I'm like, I'm not gonna mess with their territory. But I still love surfing, and but it's pretty scary. I think the scariest thing I've done is like skydiving. That was
oh my goodness,
I'm not doing it.
Pretty scary, but at the same time invigorating. Talking about empowering yourself and like jumping out of a plane out of fear. And speaking of like, and to go back to fear and just this industry and just being creative, I know that the world right now is kind of unpredictable with the strike with WGA, and we may potentially be going on strike for the actors. What is your advice for actors right now who are kind of navigating this world of uncertainty? I mean, we've already deal with uncertainty, but this is a whole nother level. It's kind of like stepping back into a pandemic in a way, and we're like the only industry is kind of slowing down, but everybody's like thriving and maybe moving on. At least during the pandemic, everybody was in the same boat, no matter what industry you were in. And now we're actors is like, oh, okay, I mean, I got a job for a while, or like the industries may shut down throughout the end of the year. Like, what do I do, and how do I keep sane?
Yeah, it's really, really hard. And I don't know if there is any special set answer. To me, it is very similar to the beginning of the pandemic. It was like, I think at first allow yourself the space to have a little anxiety and sadness. You know what I mean? It's like, allow yourself to process that. If being active in the community may be helpful to you, in terms of what SAG is doing and supporting you again. I think, but also it's a great time to, okay, what else do I want to do? Whether it's acting wise or on something else. Let's figure out something else. Is there another creative endeavor that you want to do? Like, do you want to write your own thing? That would be a great, or, a friend of yours does. We're all about creating your own work, here's the upper, and everyone's like, yeah, I'm going to, and then they get too busy. Okay, well, maybe now's the time to do it. It's all going to be what is within you, but I think it's important to, keep yourself sharp, keep yourself motivated, so that when work gets started again, you're ready to go. That's the biggest thing, is you don't want to get yourself in this lull where, okay, because these things end really abruptly, and it's like, okay, and auditions are tomorrow. And you're like, okay, I haven't done anything in 3 months. What am I gonna do? So it's keeping yourself, active. Whether it's getting together with friends and doing play readings or whatever. There's so many different things you can do to kind of keep yourself creative and keep yourself in the community. Find that community that's going to help, where you can lean on each other.
That's beautiful. It just makes me think, and I'm curious as well. This is a community, this is a creative field that we have the liberty of being a storyteller, and how incredible that is. It's such an ancient activity and like job that we are privileged to be able to do as actors, and you being a casting director, in the industry itself, you've done again commercial, animation, TV, and theater. How does an actor who maybe is brand new, because I know you said you work with brand new actors, maybe right out of college, or how do they break into the commercial world? Because each of the kind of commercial, TV, film, they're all different.
Right.
They're all different. They all require a different energy. Because I remember doing commercials very heightened. I mean, now obviously they want real people, and we can talk about that, how you are an advocate for casting real people. But it was very heightened in the commercial world versus the film and TV, where it's like we want you to be really grounded but bold, and like making these bold choices. How do you what's your advice for breaking into each of these, I guess, genres of the industry?
I mean, training is the number one thing. I think that's the biggest thing, because if you don't have credits, then what we're looking for is what class have you've taken, where, and with who. Tell us who your teachers are. That's an important thing. I think if commercials are your jam, you want to chat, which I think is a great thing to start with if you're wanting to kind of figure out the film and TV world and how working with camera. I know a lot of people are coming from theater training, right, and having that transfer. Definitely taking an on-camera commercial class, since you're usually having to break down scripts a lot faster. It can kind of help you learn how to make choices that are quick. And an improv class, I think that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of, especially younger actors, are it's not something that they train with necessarily as heavily in school. But I think learning to think on your feet, learning that in school you're constantly working with the same performers, you have an idea of what they're going to bring to the table. You guys know it's like, hi, you're coming into the Zoom room and this is your husband. You have had no opportunity to even discuss the scene. You're just going to go, and you have to work off of what is being given to you. You have no control over what that other person is going to do. So getting used to that skill set of yes and what am I being given? What do I go back? And I think it's really helpful even for film and TV. I like my readers to give something to the actor. I don't want them to drive the scene. I want the actor to drive the scene, but I do not like this thing where they like dead or they don't give anything to the actor. But a lot of the networks do. They don't want their readers giving anything. And so what do you do when you have an audition scene where you have to pretend like your father just died and you're having a conversation about that and your reader's like this? That can either be a hurdle, or maybe if you had an improv class, you could be able to digest how to make that work for you to feed the scene instead of being something you're fighting against. So I think that would be my biggest thing. And there's so many people who are scouting at those things, so if you haven't formed a community yet where people are doing showcases and things like that, people are going to the improv schools and scouting for people. So that's a great early way in when you wanted to do it. And I think the biggest thing also is just communication. And, I mentioned earlier that there was, I've known actors who were in the commercial world and wanted to be in film and TV. And one of my good friends, he was extremely successful at commercials. He was in his 20s. He looked like a Williamsburg hipster, tall, skinny beard, like he'd walk in and he would book that role. But he could not get film and TV representation to save his life. And I was casting something, and it was a modified ultra low budget at the time. So the day rate is like half of what a commercial day rate is. And I never even thought he'd want to do it, because why would you want to when you're so successful at commercials and you're making it? And I was like, oh, this film was great. I wish it was a higher budget because I'd love for you to audition. He's like, have me audition. I'm like, you don't want to do this. And he's like, Angela, I can't get film and TV rep. I'm trying to build my reel. Like, yeah, I want to audition for it. And we needed to have that conversation. You know what I mean? To be able to, for me to be like, oh, okay. And he auditioned and he booked it, and that was what helped, along with other things. He had listening. And I said to him, you need to have this conversation with the other casting directors that know you, that do both commercial and film and TV, so they know that you are interested in that. Mm-hmm. And, because otherwise we're just assuming, why would you want to take something that's less than what you normally work for? It seems like an obvious thing. So, and if you have an agent, they're having that conversation. They know whether to submit you for those projects or not. So, I think communication is key.
Yes, it really is. And a lot of the people we talk to, and even something I've learned myself, is just like moving fear out of the way. The only reason you don't communicate is because you're afraid. You're like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to do the wrong thing. And it's like, but just say what you need or what you want. And
I think you'd be surprised how many people are willing to help you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you need to ask for it, because we don't want to condescend and be like,
Yeah, you gotta ask for it. Right. Because the answer is always no, unless you ask. And, I think yeah. It's and I was telling Amanda, it's funny. I notice in some areas of my life, I'm very emboldened in that, and I have no issue with asking or whatever. But I think for myself, and maybe a lot of actors, and I'm getting better at it. But it's like, acting is something that, I don't know. I watched commercials and TV. I remember being just 6 or 7 years old. And then I was like, I want to do that. And it was really weird, because other people maybe go to the movie theater and they enjoy the show and then they leave. And me, it's like a part of me is like, it's like, this is what I want to do with my life. And so, yeah, everybody, we got to communicate more. And I love that you pointed out that you don't have to try to be like fun. Like everyone's like, well, I don't want to go to improv classes because I'm not funny, or I'm not trying to do comedy. And I'm like, I've been in these improv classes. I meet people I met this guy. He literally teaches Microsoft Excel spreadsheets, and he felt hung up on not being able to connect with his students. So he took improv. Mm-hmm. You don't have to want a comedy career.
No. you know, and it's really not about, like, most people are funny. It's not because they're trying to be funny. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how they approach a scene. It's really about being open. I mean, and most of these schools do corporate trainings, you know what I mean? So they go into offices to help them learn how to communicate with their clients or customers and things like that. But it's really about getting out of your own head. You know, I'm very much on the belief of, like, of the shut up and talk version of acting, like, just like, you do your work and then you get in there and you just be in the moment. Don't try to drive it. Don't try to force it where it's not going to go. See what's going to be there and what's going to happen. And it just helps you to do that, to be open, you know, and to see what's kind of happening around you. And instead of ignoring it, oh, what can I grab onto to help make this even more fleshed out and interesting?
That's great. So, and speaking of, doing improv, I think when we get auditions, we get like 6 pages, 7, 8, 9. How important is it to be off book and saying the line, verbatim and getting it accurately? I know some projects are like, you got to be word for word. Don't mess up. Don't. But what if you do, because maybe you're struggling with a line and it doesn't feel grounded in your body, and you're like, I can't get this line correct. Like, what is going on? And it's stumping you throughout the rest of the scene. So is it important to really be off book, to have the words verbatim, and in order to, like, provide a like a standout self tape?
I don't expect anyone to be out there for their auditions for me. Period. I just don't. I don't think you have enough time. You know what I mean? Even if it's for film, I mean, I don't give more than 5 pages. I think that's wrong. And I give it a week in advance. I'm not into the, like, turn it around in 24 hours thing either. And I think that, but my thing is, you want to be as familiar as you can so that you can make the choices that you want to make. But things are being rewritten constantly. That's why when there's a writer's strike, nothing can be made, because there's no writers on set to help adjust the script, so I don't expect that at all. Have the script in hand. That is why it's been given to you, however, whether it's on your screen or in hand, but it's being as comfortable with it as you can be to make the choices you need to do to be creative. That's
awesome. What about, because I'm curious, because I think the reason why I wanted to be actor when I was young is because I fell in love with animation. Like, I've had this vision and this dream, and it's still there so vividly, is I fell in love with, like, Fern Gully. I felt everyone does. I don't know why people don't know about that cartoon, because I love Fern Gully. They need to make a live version of it because I love it so much. And like the Iron Giant and all these classics that were, like, so deep in my heart as a kid. And I think that's why I wanted to become an actor. It was cartoons versus real people. I know you've done animation. That's why you just did one or coming out. Like, how fun is that? I'm just curious. I'm just casting that, like, with actors coming in or getting the VO. And what was your experience from doing that to, like, commercials and TV?
Oh, it's so much fun. So much fun. So much fun. I think that, first of all, but the 3 shows that we've done, 2 that have been released, 1 that hasn't yet, were kids animation shows. So part of it was working with kids who are just amazing. And it's like, one of them, like, when the show finally came out, they're all following each other on Instagram, but they had never met. Because when you're doing animation, you record alone. So it's like, oh, you're what my sister looks like, So they were so cute that way. But, it's funny because there's such a wide variety of style. One of the projects we worked on was very real. So, yes, it's helpful if you have some experience, be it a class or whatnot, in doing animation and kind of how to work with equipment and how to have, with animation, you really have a lot more fun with the script because you are bringing it to life audibly. Unlike voiceover, commercial voiceover where everything is clean, this is where, like, we want to hear the gas and sighs and and all those things that make the scene real. And then the other one we did was totally heightened and, like, cartoony and things like that. So there's such a wide variety of ways that they can go about it. So I think if that is something that you're interested in, the one thing I would suggest is taking a class to get used to working with equipment, and knowing how to utilize that, knowing how kind of where your voice falls. There are some people who are great at animation because they do their thing. And then there are what we call people who are utility voices, people who are able to do 7 different voices, and can do a lot of different characters at once, which there oftentimes is a call for that as well. So that way they can, book one person, knock out 3 roles in one recording session, and be good to go. So, you might be able to do one, you might be able to do the other. But I mean, Super Kitties that we did that's on Disney Plus. I mean, a good number of the adult cast are theater actors. They weren't voiceover people, necessarily. Now they are, but they weren't necessarily at the time. And they were great for the role, and that's what they did.
That's pretty cool. I'm excited for the day that I'm in the booth because I'm going to act like a wild child. Because I just love it. And then to see it on screen, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be like the Rock singing when you saw the Rock singing in the booth doing the Moana. Have a vision. I do. It gets me excited. I'm like, ooh. I'm curious. And so what has been your favorite project to work on? Because you have such a passion for casting. You've been in the industry for 20 plus years. What has been your favorite project to work on?
So, and we've been working on a scripted podcast, which hasn't been released yet by Wondery. We've done 2 seasons of it, and it still hasn't been released. So I really enjoyed working on that. I think the scripted podcast world is really interesting. It kind of harkens back to the old radio drama days. So it's kind of like animation and film together, because it's not as heightened as animation. It's much more straightforward, narrative. But I find that was really fun. Branded wise, I do these real people type of documentary style searches, and we did one. It just came out on Self Magazine. I do a lot of stuff for Condé Nast, and they in their health and wellness kind of area, and they did 3 videos exploring breast cancer from the perspective of 3 different women. So one a patient, one an advocate, and one a doctor. And I thought that was it was so interesting and eye-opening to work on. And then the end project was really uplifting and beautifully well done, and really honoring the women that were featured in it. So that I really loved. And then film-wise, we've been doing a ton of Christmas movies, Lifetime and Hallmark Christmas movies, which I love. They're great, but they've been really fun. And I say I get doing them more and more. They're fun, they're enjoyable.
Holiday movies in general.
My mom loves those every time.
Yeah, we did one where with oh my goodness, it's gonna make me Kelsey Grammer. That was this last Christmas, and it was really, really fun. Just the characters that were in there, and there was one little girl, and she's like a lead, and that's fun to do too. So
that's so cool. Christmas. I mean, I could watch holiday movies too throughout the year. It just makes you so happy. Although I do like horror. I'm all about horror. Give me.
I know. That's what I'm waiting on. I had been talking to a couple of people about some horror films, and I was like, and then the writer's strike happened. So please come back.
Oh, so you're a woman after my own heart. You love horror. Are you gonna watch the new Insidious movie?
Yes.
I have to watch all of them before I watch it, just so I can catch up. I've watched it all. You can ask Janelle, look at her face with the whole.
I bet I had you. We watched one. Remember?
Yes.
It was about Ouija boards.
I don't do those things, no.
And then we were yelling at the TV. We're like, "Don't go up the stairs. The thing's in the closet," and it's so much fun.
I know. My husband and I, we watch Jaws every year at 4th of July. And so we just did our annual watching, which I jump in the same spots every time.
The head coming in the boat.
Yes, in the boat.
My mom.
And then he looks at me and he's like, "Why are you jumping again? It's coming."
I was so scared. I was like 10 or something and my mom was like, "You can watch it." And she's like, "You're old enough now." And then she let me watch it. And I screamed so loud, and she woke up because she had fallen asleep. She's like, "Okay, we're going to turn it off. You're not ready." I was like, "I'm ready."
That's so funny.
That's good.
What's the best way to keep in contact with you as actors? I know you talked about social media and reaching out, but for you, what's your preference?
Any and all above. 1 second. Sorry, I just let my husband walk by. You can reach me at Angela@lizlewis.com via email, and then I'm available on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I lurk on Twitter, but I don't post. I lurk on TikTok, but I don't post. So it's pretty much, if you go to Instagram, you'll see a lot of my also rock concert collection, my husband's rock concert collection. We're big live concert goers. So
Ooh, are you going to anyone new? Like, are you going to a new concert anytime soon, or?
so we're huge Bruce fans. We were supposed to go to the Albany show, which was canceled when he was sick, and that's been rescheduled for September. So going back in September. But this year's been pretty quiet. But we've seen Kiss a number of times, and we see them. They're amazing. I know it sounds crazy, but seeing a 79-year-old fly around the stage on a wire is insane. So you should do it.
Oh, I love that. I think I've taken my mom to see like Bon Jovi, and I freaked out with her. That's about yeah.
I saw Journey with my mom. I saw Paul McCartney with my mom. And she turned 14 in an instant. She
I can
knocked me
imagine.
over when he came out. She was like, ah.
Yeah, we really love it. I mean, probably my biggest favorite was Dolly Parton. I'm a big Dolly Parton fan. She's fun in concert. She's just hysterical.
So good. So clearly living a life and having fun and connecting with everybody and seeing everybody as real people is a gift that you should be taking advantage of in your life, in this career. And I'm in the Bronx, so all the noise in the background, I apologize. And my dogs, I'm surprised they didn't bark, but I want to thank you, Angela, for coming on here and sharing your insight and your time, because again, like I said, you were a big part of my career earlier on, and now I have to reconnect. It just came full circle. I was telling you, it just came full circle to be able to be in this stage of my life and connecting with you, because I think in the beginning I looked at casting directors as like that separation. Mm-hmm. I'm the actor, that's the casting, they play their role, I play mine. And I was very naive as well, walking in the room, bright-eyed and young, although I am still young and bright-eyed, just as young as I was before. I think it's a big joy and a big gift, so thank you. Nell, do you have anything to say before we call it off?
No, this has been so amazing, and I'm so excited for everybody to hear this. And it's really funny because actually Amanda and I will even listen back to like the podcast that she and I just do, and we'll be having like a down day and we're like, that's really good. Like, that's really good. If I'm ever like, I'm gonna, I don't know, quit acting, I could just listen to this again and be like, no, just Amanda and I are in it for the long game, and it's just still having a life and doing the things. And poor Amanda, I drag her into everything.
Great. No, it's good. You get me out of my
the Brooklyn Zoo to do gymnastics while drunk into the foam cubes, and
sure thing.
I love that.
Bring your own beer. They do it in Brooklyn Zoo if you ever want.
Or hiking with goats in the winter. Really fun.
We did. We went hiking with goats.
Oh my God, where?
Upstate New York, there's this woman, she saves goats. It's a goat sanctuary. And yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Apparently I'm a goat whisperer, because there was like this alpha goat apparently that she was like, he doesn't listen to anyone, be careful with him, he'll like grab the food. And I just literally talked to him, looked at him in the eye, and I was like, you're gonna wait, I'm gonna give you something, but you gotta wait, let me give it to the other goat. And she was like amazed. She was like, what are you doing, do you want to work here? She's like, he never does that, he's just sitting there listening to you. I was like, oh, okay. I was just telling him like, listen, you're gonna get it, you just gotta wait, let me
give you a sticker.
Oh yeah,
she had stickers for everybody, and we got the normal stickers, and she had like a specific sticker that she like, I'm telling you, that's what I love most about traveling and doing all these quirky things. Like, my dad's a journalist and just like always so curious, and it's just like fun. People are really like weird and amazing.
Well, have such interesting stories. Yeah, that's why I love it. Even when I'm, that's a lot of the stuff we do is with actors. So it's just we want their real stories, and I just like peeling back like the shiny happy layer and seeing who people are underneath. It's so fascinating for me.
So beautiful. One thing that you would like any audience member out there, or creative performer, storyteller, to leave away, one thing you would like them to leave away with after watching this?
I think I'd love for them to be empowered to be more to take ownership in the room, to take ownership of their process, I think, and also to realize that we're on your side. I think right now there's so much contentious discussion about casting versus actors. And, for me as a casting judge, I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from. Like, I love actors. I'm doing everything I can to try to help them, what I mean? And I think that, casting is accessible to you, and that's only going to make you feel more confident as well. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Because, even on the RCSA Facebook page, the casting directors will find out that an actor hasn't made their health insurance, and they will immediately put up and say, hey, this person hasn't made their health insurance. If you have anything for them, let them know. Like, we really do pull together, and I don't think actors realize necessarily how much we do.
That's incredible. It just gave me chills because I know that struggle. The union. Well, it's a different world becoming from non-union to union, and I think that was a real kind of eye opener for me, because with non-union, it was so consistent, at least in the beginning. We're constantly getting auditions, booking nonstop. And then I jumped into the union world and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not booking as often. This is really terrifying. Am I not good enough to be in the union? Like, what's the difference? And I just had to grapple with the level up as throughout this industry, and understanding there's a difference. And it's like, you're in a different environment now, and there's different requirements. And so I love that. It's a great reminder that the casting directors are advocating for you. They are your adversaries. They are rooting for you. They are your cheerleaders, even if you don't see it. Getting that audition is a big win. And communicating with them and letting them know that you're still alive, you're still in the industry, and you still love it, and letting them know, and and seeing them as real people, because if you're in it for the long run, there's no reason to rush your success. There's no reason to rush for your success, and find the joy and love within it. So hope you got some goodies and some gems that you left with this amazing episode. And so thank you for joining.
What are your thoughts about this episode?
Drop it in the comments and let us know what you want to dive into next.
Subscribe, like, share, and click the link below to book a free consultation. And
we'll see you next time.